Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 329 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you. That is the truth. Let's dive straight into the review part of the show. After that, we're going to welcome our special guest, who's, of course, fighting this weekend in a huge fight in the States. Then, in part two, we'll do the news and the previewing. Let's get straight into the reviewing. Like I said, we're going to start here. Last Thursday, January 27th. It's unbelievable how quick this year's already going. We're already in February. This one was at the Wizink Center, which sounds like a venue in Russia or something like that. The Wizink Center. But it's actually in Madrid, which is very strange. But anyways, a man, something that's probably even stranger, a man that promoted the show also boxed on the show. That man being Sergio Martinez. He boxed against Macaulay McGowan. McGowan down in the 7th round and in the 10th and final round, lost pretty much every round there. A points win over 10 unanimously for Sergio Martinez, 55-3 with 2 draws. He's talking about a Golovkin fight. Not so sure I'm on board with that one. Moving out now, this one was, I think, one of the 2 final cards to mention. This one took place at the Packard Music Hall in Warren, Ohio, USA. I'm not sure. In fact, I really doubt you saw it, Eddie. I think it was hard to... it says it was on DAZN. I didn't know it was on DAZN. But anyway, Don King back with world title action. Quote-unquote world title action. I guess one fight he can get away with, but the other one not so much. But let's get to the big boys. Let's start with the not so much one. Trevor Bryan with a win. Split decision over 12 rounds against Jonathan Guidry, who's now 17-1 with 2 draws. He's lost his O. They had a fight 11 years ago in the amateurs, and Trevor Bryan won on points. On that occasion, he's won on points again here. 22-0. Still the WBA heavyweight world champion. The regular titleist, of course. And I don't know if it was the main event or what. It was kind of weird. It was very weird, actually. A lot of Don King shows these days, they have a couple fights live, and then they like to put on a whole fight that took place about 40 years ago. So, very weird scheduling. Anyways, Ilunga Makabu, 28-2, with a split decision win over 12 rounds. He successfully retains his WBC Cruiserweight World title against Tabiso Machunu, former opponent of Eddie Chambers here. He's now 23-6. I've got to say, he was extremely hard done by. The pair had a fight in the past where Makabu was able to knock out Machunu. I didn't know that actually last week. And this fight here, Machunu boxed excellently. I think some people were giving Makabu maybe 2 rounds, maybe 3 at a push, but somehow he managed to get the decision, a split decision. Like I say, Machunu devastated after the fight. He shoved Makabu when Makabu tried to shake his hand. So yeah, it's bad luck for Machunu. He goes back to South Africa empty-handed. Yeah, quite upset for him, to be honest with you. Good fighter, and yeah, doesn't really get it easy. Moving out now to the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma, USA. This one over here, I didn't see it. It was on ESPN. Just going to run through the results. Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of the greatest, 4-0 now. A TKO in round 2 against Jeremiah Yeager, who's now 1-2-1. Like I say, Nico Ali Walsh 4-0. And the main event, Robson Conceição, who was a slight underdog, the former world title challenger last time out, arguably beating Oscar Valdez. He got in with Xavier Martinez, who's now 17-1. Like I say, Martinez was the slight favourite. I never understood why. I wish I would have bet on it. I didn't know enough about Martinez to comfortably have full faith in Conceição, but Conceição won absolutely every round. I think across the board, maybe 9-1 on one card. But yeah, he completely, according to the scorecards, dominated this fight here. Unanimous decision over 10. Conceição now 17-1, and Martinez now 17-1, of course, as well. That is it, though, for the review part of the show. I've flown through that as quick as possible. It's now time, before we wrap up part one, to welcome our special guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA Super-Lightweight world champion. It is, of course, Mr. Mario Barrios. Mario, welcome back on the show, my man.
Like I said, always a pleasure.
It really is, my man. It really is. So, Mario, we last spoke back in June. It was a couple of weeks, obviously, before that Gervonta Davis fight. I know it's obviously in the past now. It's probably something you want to stay in 2021. But if you can, just give me a couple words on that fight, Mario. You were doing so well. You were winning the fight on 99% of people's scorecards. Gervonta's power did eventually catch up with you, though. Just tell me a couple words on that if you can.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Regardless, me and my team were very happy with the performance that we had, and it's part of boxing. I still went out there. I displayed my boxing skills. I showed I'm more than just a power puncher. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I got to show everybody the heart and determination I have whenever I step into the boxing ring.
And how did the rest of the year go for you? Obviously, you didn't have another fight, but was everything else okay? Were you in a perhaps dark place following the fight at all?
No, I'm thankful to have the team that I do, the family that I have, the friends that I surround myself with. They all kept me in good spirits. After the tank fight, I took 3 weeks off, just to rest my body, rest my mind. And then I was right back in, the boxing gym, waiting to get the, another fight. I was hoping to get it at least one more in, before 2021 was up. But, that didn't happen. But, no problem. Because, we have this huge opportunity, in early 2022.
There we go. And let's talk about it. You're looking to start the year with a bang here. You're taking on former unified welterweight world champion Keith Thurman in Vegas this coming weekend. Firstly, you're moving up in weight. Obviously, it's at welterweight. Moving up in weight, though, is something you've been talking about for quite a while now, though, right?
Yeah. It definitely has been a long time coming. And but the opportunity is here, and we have a dangerous opponent in front of us, to test myself, and I never shy away from a fight with anybody. There's never been a name that I have turned down, and that's what makes this fight so exciting. It's getting all the questions. Why Keith Thurman for your first fight? Why this guy? Why not take a lighter fight? But it's because I'm not scared to fight a dangerous fighter. I want to test myself while I'm young, while my body can handle it. And I'm looking forward to another exciting night against a dangerous opponent.
Yeah, I mean it's a fight I myself cannot wait to see. You're both obviously coming off losses. He's coming off a career longest layoff. We don't really know what he's got left. As we said, you're the one moving up in weight. There's so many tangibles at play here. Not to mention he's decided to make a controversial decision and cut his hair off. I don't know if it's going to affect him in any way in the ring. What kind of Keith Thurman are you expecting to show up though, Mario? Or don't you really know, like the rest of us? We're not sure where he's at these days.
Yeah, we're not too sure either, but we're expecting a dangerous Keith Thurman for sure. We're expecting a Keith Thurman, who's well rested, who has found, his hunger, his reason to come back. And from all the videos and everything I've been getting tagged in, he looks in great shape. And I hope he's 100%, because a victory over a Keith Thurman any less than 100%, it's not good enough. If we go out there and handle our business, take care of, of everything I had to do, I don't want there to be, any question or, any doubt of, of my abilities when I'm in there with him.
And it's such a good fight because obviously if you win, you become only the second man to beat him behind Manny Pacquiao. You do something that Danny Garcia failed to do, that Sean Porter failed to do, these established top-class welterweights. It's almost like the perfect fight to catapult you right to the top of the, welterweight contenders list.
Yeah, absolutely. When we were looking at this fight, when it was originally brought up to me, of course, I jumped on it right away. I told my manager, let's do it. Let's make it happen. I love the idea of that fight. And, but, that was just me speaking just because, he was the most dangerous opponent, that was brought up to me. But then, just looking at everything, looking at where, this fight will put me in the division, like how you said, it'll catapult my name, in there with, other great fighters, who aren't able, to get a victory over him. So, a victory over Keith Thurman, it does a lot for me, and it does a lot for my career,
And I'm also excited because I've been interviewing you for a long time now, and I now get to ask you about the welterweight division, the questions at probably the most stacked division in boxing, talent-wise. Where do you think you fit in here, Mario? I know you obviously haven't had a fight just yet at the weight. Maybe this question is for after the fight, but how soon would you like to, be mixing it with the big dogs? In a realistic world, a win here, how soon after that can we see you in with another big name at the top?
First things first, we got to handle the business with Keith Thurman.
Yes.
But, I'm taking, such a dangerous fight, for a reason, because, to show myself, to show everybody in the boxing world that I am ready, to be in there with the big names, with the dangerous, top 10 at welterweight. So, we're looking, to jumpstart, in the welterweight division for sure.
Most people have the king of the division either being Errol Spence or Terence Crawford. Do you identify one of those two guys as the best? If so, who?
I think right now, all of the current champions are definitely the best. We have Spence and Ugas, that are gonna, unify, and the winner, who comes out of that fight. There's only one way, to tell who's number one, and that's to finally get the champions to fight. But like I said, that's Spence and Ugas, both men, who I have supported and rooted for in many fights. Some guys, both I can consider friends, but there has to be one winner, at the end of the day. Then after that, hopefully, we can see a total unification fight with Terence Crawford, who has always proved, he is, one of the best in the division. And, that's what makes, this division so exciting, because there is so much talent. And even aside from the champions, just, everybody, within the top 15 rankings, there's so much talent, there's so many great fighters, to make fights against.
And my final question for you, Mario, because we're seriously running out of time, of course. Two upcoming fights I want to get your prediction for, if I can. One being at welterweight, one being at super lightweight. I'm just going to throw them both at you. You can give me a short sentence how you think they're going to go. Khan against Brook, and Ramirez against Pedraza?
Well, the Khan and Brook fight, Khan is another, good friend of mine. We have had plenty of, camps together. Like he told me, and we have got plenty of sparring, together in the Bay Area when, he goes up there and works with Virgil Hunter. So of course, I'm rooting for, my guy Khan. And the Pedraza and Ramirez fight, I think that's a great fight for Ramirez. He always has shown, the type of warrior, that he is when he, steps in there. Very similar to me, never backs down, never quits. And, but, Pedraza is, he's a dangerous fighter, he's very sharp, another very talented boxer. But, I think with that fight, I'm still going to lean with Ramirez. I'm hoping, he can get back on track to where he wants to. And, but yeah, those are my predictions for those fights.
Yes, so many brilliant fights coming up, and your fight, of course, kicks off all these brilliant other fights that's coming up in the coming weeks. But listen, Mario, as you already know, you're one of my favourite fighters. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your time. I wish you the best of luck for this coming weekend, and I just love you, man.
Much love, Joey. I appreciate you, man.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. That's where we're going to start. There's a card that's been announced for Friday, the 25th of March in the Utilita Arena in Newcastle. It's Parabellum's first UK fight card. It's going to be packed with a lot of guys from the Northeast. You've got Lewis Ritson, Pat McCormack, Troy Williamson, Thomas Patrick Ward, and a few others there. I'm not sure on their opponents just yet. I don't know if that's been announced, but it's cool to see Parabellum obviously have their first UK show, and they've got talent, and they're displaying them in the right part of the country. So that's cool to see. Jesse Bam Rodriguez, that's the brother of Joshua Franco. He has signed a promotional deal with Matchroom Sports. That's cool. And of course, there's more news coming with him, which we will get to. But he's a tremendous fighter with a really bright future, a lot of people feel. And it seems to be officially on, even though I'm kind of taking it with a pinch of salt because no one's quite sure when it's going to be, if it's definitely on. But the press release went out. Top Rank sent everyone an email saying it is on. Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. No venue yet, no date yet. And some people are already doubting whether or not we're going to definitely see it take place. It's not a fight that I am really that bothered about, to be honest with you. I tell you what, it'd be rude to not come to you here, Eddie. Obviously, Tyson Fury coming off the win over Wilder. That's the end of the Wilder-Fury saga. We know that. The book is closed on it. There's not really many other fights that Tyson, I think, needs to have, if any. But the people that we want to see him in the ring with is pretty much two guys. It's Joshua and it's Usyk. Joshua because it's mega in the UK. Usyk because it's a chance to get all the belts, even though arguably he should have them. He's never lost any of them, and he's got all of them in his trophy cabinet. But yeah, aside from that, the Dillian White fight, people will buy into it. People are gonna get behind it. It's a big UK fight, but it's just not one that I'm that bothered about. It's I don't know. I'm not excited for it, and It's a dangerous fight. I would hate to see Fury lose somehow against Dillian White. I don't think he will, but it's a dangerous fight, and I'm not that excited for it, Eddie.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's the kind of fight that you're almost damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I don't, as much as I like Dillian, I know him personally. He's good. He's a nice guy. Went to camp actually with Tyson with him because we were. Getting ready for Tyson was getting ready for David Haye, and like I say, he's a good dude. He's funny. It's cool to be around. But as far as his ability to fight is top level, it's top shelf, no doubt. But I just don't think that he has the capabilities when Tyson's in the right mindset and not doing too much, which every once in a while can happen. I don't think he's going to be able to deal with what he has. He moves too well. He boxes too well. He's extremely tall. Obviously, we know that. And his boxing ability from distance is just unmatched. So it's going to be kind of difficult for Dillian, who likes to be somewhat on the outside himself, to get a foothold in the fight. In my opinion, I think, the best chance for him is, landing a big shot and, somehow getting control that way. But other than that, I don't see it. But he does still pose enough of a problem as a puncher, because he can knock anyone out. He catch you right, he knock you out. I just don't see it happening if Tyson stays behind his jab and boxes like he's supposed to and don't put himself too much in harm's way. And, you look at Dillian, and it's like he's been through so much in his career. He's been passed over a few times, in a sense, for fights, or at least having opportunities to fight big fights and win titles. And it's just unfortunate. It kind of reminds me of myself, just not being able to get in the right position at the right time to get that title and to win it. So if he is, if he's able to get the fight, at least he has the opportunity to win. So I'm looking forward to seeing that for him. But I just, I'm always behind Tyson, and I'm always thinking, just with his skill set and his ability, it's just going to be very, very difficult for anyone who's at the top level at this point in time to do really anything with him.
We shall see. But yeah, if the fight happens, which it's a big if at the moment, we'll all be tuned in, of course. In other news, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, just after signing with Matchroom, has now jumped straight in, on late notice with Carlos Cuadras for the vacant WBC Super-Flyweight world title, which takes place this weekend, of course. So he's had about, I don't know, probably a week's notice, maybe even less, and he jumped straight back in, straight in with Cuadras, a top world level fighter, of course. And I think he's had to move up in weight as well for the fight, Rodriguez. And this was after Rungvisai had to pull out of the fight. He became ill. So credit there to Jesse Bam Rodriguez. What a week he's had. Signing with Matchroom and getting a world title fight at the weight above. Unbelievable. In other news, we have the fight rescheduled. Jesse Vargas and Liam Smith, they get it on. It's now going to be on the undercard of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, which takes place at the Madison Square Garden in New York, April 30th, live on DAZN. Should be a good fight. I never really felt it was a bill-topping kind of fight, in my honest opinion. I don't think the quality, or the, I guess, value of the fight is bill-topping. I don't know what word I'm trying to find, but it's not a bill-topping fight, I don't think. I never felt it was. It's a good undercard fight. It's a solid undercard fight. Two former world champions, good ones. But for me, it didn't really ever have that main event value. In other news, we have the fact that Franchon Cruz DAZN and Ellen Cederuz, I think her name is said, will be clashing for the undisputed super middleweight world titles again on the undercard of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano once again, April 30th at the Madison Square Garden. So that is shaping up to be a good card. Two women's world title fights for all the belts in their respective weight classes. I mean, we're going to see two undisputed champions, providing there's no draws, of course. And in other news, and it's the final piece of news, it's another female boxing piece of news as well. We've got Savannah Marshall defending her world title in Newcastle on March the 12th. It's going to be live on Sky Sports. She gets in with Femke Hermans, who is a former opponent of Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields went the distance with her back in 2018. Of course, it goes without saying, Savannah Marshall and Peter Fury will be aiming for the KO, which is something that Clarissa couldn't deliver there. But we shall see what happens. That's it for the news, though. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here with this card. It's big, it's juicy. It's taking place on Saturday at the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff, Wales. I'd love to be there. It's going to be on Sky. I'm certainly going to be watching it live. Very interesting undercard. I'm going to start with that. Caroline Dubois, the sister of Daniel Dubois. She was in the Olympics. She takes on Veda Macio-Kate, who's 2-14 with 4 draws. Caroline Dubois making her debut. It's going to be great to see her. Hope they show it on the telecast, but there's a lot of fights, to mention. Harlem Eubank, the cousin of Chris Eubank Jr., friend of the show as well, 12-0. He gets in with Virial Simeon, a guy that's certainly been around the block, 22-7. Been in there with, who's he been in with? I want to say Scott Quigg. I want to say Lee Selby. Definitely got in there with Shakur Stevenson. He is very seasoned. It's quite a big step up really for Harlem Eubank, even though Simeon at this stage probably doesn't have too much to offer. Another great fight. Otto Wallin, 22-1 in a 6-rounder against the heavyweight hard man Camille Sokolowski. I think probably coming off that win over George Fox, or did he have a fight in between then and now? Not sure, but he of course upset the apple cart against George Fox. We know how dangerous he is. He arguably beat David Adelaide, come close and arguably beat Lucas Brown. The list goes on. Knocked out Nick Webb. You know, this guy is a complete and utter danger, man. But Otto Wallin, I think, will have enough to deal with Sokolowski. I tell you what, if there's odds on that fight, Otto Wallin points, I would put my house on that. That for me, I think is going to happen. Elsewhere on the card, and it is a strange undercard, as I said, we've got Chris Jenkins, 22-4 with 3 draws in an 8-rounder against former unified super lightweight world champion Julius Indongo, 23-4. I think he's only won one of his past 5 fights. He got knocked out by good fighters, though, to be honest with you. He got knocked out, I think, in all 4 of those losses. And off the top of my head, I want to say the first one was Terence Crawford. The second one was Regis Prograis. The third one, I can't remember who it was. And the fourth one, I think, was Hassan Mwakinyo, who'd once knocked out Sam Eggington. So, yeah, I don't think he's got much left. But Chris Jenkins, it's a big step up for him. It's by far, on paper, the best fighter he would have been in the ring with. There's a great fight as well on the undercard between Samuel Antwi, 13-1, against Connor Walker, 10-0 with a draw. That one over 10 rounds for the English welterweight title. We've also got Clarissa Shields in the UK. Unbelievable. 11-0. She gets in with Emma Kozin, who's 21-0 with a draw. That's over 10 2-minute rounds for the WBC, WBA, IBF and WBF World Female Middleweight titles. Clarissa Shields defending them all, of course. And the main event, Chris Eubank Jr., 31-2. He's got Roy Jones Jr. in the corner with him. He gets in with Cardiff's very own Liam Williams. I'm not even sure if he's from Cardiff, so I shouldn't say that because I can't remember off the top of my head, but obviously from Wales. And, this is a huge homecoming for him. There's no better opponent to bring to Cardiff where the people are going to be booing Eubank and the people are going to be cheering for Liam Williams. 23-3 with a draw. Friend of the show. Unbelievable fight. I've seen, if you're listening to me now, you haven't seen that episode of The Gloves Are Off with Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams. It's a good watch. There's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of genuine dislike between the pair. And it's going to be really good. I'm so looking forward to this card. It's going to be unbelievable. My pick, I of course want Liam Williams to win. I can see Eubank Jr. being outboxed. I can see it. I can see Eubank Jr. though landing heavy shots on Liam Williams and hurting him. I can't see Liam Williams knocking Eubank Jr. out, I don't think. I think that's the most unlikely outcome, if I'm being honest. But I can see it going the distance. I can see it going the distance, that fight there. It's going to be an unbelievable fight. Moving out now to the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Over here, Carlos Cuadras, 39-4 with a draw, fighting for the vacant WBC Super Flyweight World title against Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who of course is 14-0, moving up in weight. It's over 12 rounds, of course, that one there. We've also got one of the hottest prospects in world boxing, Raymond Ford, 10-0 with a draw in a 10-rounder here against Edward Vasquez, who's 11-0. That one's for the not vacant. It is Raymond Ford's title. It's for the WBA Continental America's featherweight title. Also, a female world title fight, Jamie Mitchell, 7-0 with 2 draws. She ripped the title away from Shannon Courtney. Doesn't look like there's going to be a rematch there, which is very surprising. Jamie Mitchell, 7-0 with 2 draws, defending the WBA female bantamweight world title against the UK's very own Carly Skelly, who's 4-0 with a draw. Elsewhere on the undercard, we've got No, that's the wrong bill. Sorry, that is it for that one. Yep. Moving out now to the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Over here we have on the undercard Luis Nery, 31-1, getting in with Carlos Castro, 27-0. Could be a great fight there. We've got Fernando Vargas. It is the son of Fernando Vargas. He's 4-0 with 4 KOs. He looks exactly like his dad. His dad did in his younger days. He gets in with Cody Koboski, who is 2-0. Somebody's O must go. We've got Leo Santa Cruz. We had him on last week's show. It's his 41st pro fight, 37-2 with a draw in a 10-rounder there against Keenan Carbajal, who's 23-2 with a draw. Hasn't lost a fight for 7 years. I think his loss. One was by KO, one was on points early on in his career. Elsewhere on the card, we've got Jesus Ramos, who's 17-0, getting in with Vladimir Hernandez, 13-4. That one's over 10 rounds. We've got Abel Ramos, 27-4, with 2 draws in a 10-rounder against Lucas Santamaria, who is 12-2 with a draw. I think that's a late replacement opponent there. And of course, all over to the main event. We just spoke to the man involved in the fight. Mario Barrios, 26-1, getting in with former world champion Keith Thurman, 29-1. Both guys coming off a loss, Eddie. Of course, Mario Barrios, coming off that loss last time out to Gervonta Tank Davis in round 11 in a fight he was arguably winning, not on the judges' scorecards, mind you, but on a lot of people's scorecards on social media. He's getting in with him. He's moving up in weight, that extra 7 pounds. Someone reminded me as well, he was down at 130, Barrios, about 10 fights ago. Went up to 135 to 140. Now here he is at 147. Keith Thurman, no one has got any idea what he's got left. He's coming off that loss to Pacquiao 2.5 years ago. He's cut his hair off. He doesn't look like the same guy. Will he be able to be the same fighter he once was? Eddie, tell me about the fight.
It's all in, to me, what Keith Thurman still has, as a fighter, and whether he's still gonna bring the noise with the power and just in general with his style. Pretty decent boxer. Better than pretty decent, obviously. He's at the top of the game, but having 2.5 years off is tough sometimes. Sometimes, though, it's a needed break. Sometimes you need to give your body a chance to really, really recover, and you need sometimes to spend time with family and just to maybe miss it a little bit. And I think sometimes it could be a good thing. But when you're jumping right back in with somebody who's one of the top guys in the world, it makes it kind of hard. So as far as Barrios coming up, to 47, previously being at 35, and getting stopped by Tank at 140, it's tough to say whether or not. That's why I said I think it's all up to Keith Thurman and what he has, and whether he can land that. Because even though Tank is, I feel like, a hell of a puncher, and I think he'll even be able to be a pretty decent puncher at 140. We're talking about 147. Now we're talking about guys who have been at the weight class pretty much most of their careers, or come down. So it's it could be a little bit of, well, not a little bit. It's going to be a pretty decent difference in power and possibly strength. And even though he hasn't been knocking a lot of guys out recently, Keith Thurman, but once you get to the top of the game, that doesn't happen as often, unless you're like a Klitschko or something, because that's just the way that, it's in the heavyweight division. But in most cases, the knockouts don't continue like they did when you were on your way up. So, but in this case, I feel like I'm not saying it's a safe bet. This guy Barrios, obviously a serious contender. He's a good fighter. And we really don't know what Keith Thurman's going to be like coming off a 2.5-year layoff. So if this is the Keith Thurman of old, he may get him out. But if this is a rusty guy who is still got something, but it's a little rusty, I'm looking like it could probably be a decision going for Thurman. But it's still an interesting fight. I mean, both guys, I'm pretty sure, obviously coming to win. And Keith Thurman has to really impress. Looking around at his weight class, there's a lot of competition there, and he's got to show that he's still worthy of being in the conversation of one of the top guys.
I really like the analysis from you there, Eddie. It's a great fight. I've been looking forward to it from the moment it got made. I'm a huge Keith Thurman fan, which is a very unpopular thing to say in 2022, but I've always been a big Keith Thurman fan for years now. Mario Barrios, obviously, huge friend of the show. Certainly pulling for him to get the win. I've got a feeling he's going to get the win. I really do. And I base that off of the fact that, I mean, the only thing that's going against him is the size difference. That's the only thing. He's tall. You know, Barrios isn't small. He's going to probably look quite good at the weight. But the fact that obviously he was down at 130, etc., that's the one thing going against him. Other than that, everything is in his favour, I think. You know, the facts. I'm not talking about boxing skill-wise. Obviously, Keith Thurman at his peak was, you know, would have been a clear favourite against Barrios. It has to be said. But just the other tangibles, like the inactivity and the fact that Barrios has been active, the age factor, the fact that Barrios has possibly still yet to get to his best level, you'd say that Thurman is probably past it now. I think that's fair to say. A lot of different things make me point towards Barrios. The fact that, you know, people are talking about Keith Thurman getting him out of there and he hasn't got a knockout for 6.5 years, and it was against Louis Collazo, who of course was well past it then, let alone, you know, I think he still boxed in 2021, Louis Collazo, so, you know, he was well past it then and he carried on. But that's the last time that Thurman knocked anyone out, and the time before that he knocked someone out was Julio Diaz back in 2014, so we're now going back 8 years. And both of those knockouts, by the way, were both retirements in the corner. He didn't actually knock them out. His last proper knockout was against Jesus Soto Carras back in December 2013. These are all concerns for me. I think that Keith Thurman as well, when he takes a long time out the ring, which there's not too much to base it off of, he only did it once before when he took some time out after beating Danny Garcia. He came back against Josecito Lopez, had to hold on for dear life. He was in all kinds of trouble in that fight, almost got knocked out. And, you know, he scraped the victory against Josecito Lopez. But he was coming off 2 years out the ring. And then he went straight in with Manny Pacquiao. And some people forget how good he performed against Manny Pacquiao. It was a really close fight. It was a split decision loss. You know, one of the judges gave it to Keith Thurman. It was Glenn Feldman, by the way. But it was a really, really close fight despite Thurman being down in the very first round. He actually looked really good again. But obviously Pacquiao was too good on that night there. But then he's gone away again for another 2.5 years. I'm just saying, the one time he went away for 2 years, he come back and looked horrible, and now he's gone away for 2.5 years, coming off the first loss of his career. Has the hunger gone? Is he going to look even worse than he did against against Josecito Lopez? If he does, Mario Barrios is the man to get him, and it's a brilliant fight for him. It makes so much sense for Barrios. It's a good opponent to get to come up to welterweight. If you beat this guy, you're the only person to do it. You know, aside from Manny Pacquiao, and if you knock him out, by the way, which is certainly possible because Barrios can punch, then it's a huge statement. So I'm pulling for Barrios to win. My prediction is, I think it goes the distance. I don't think anyone gets stopped. I think Thurman's power isn't what it used to be. The layoff as well, I don't think he's going to come back and look super sharp because he didn't before. So I think he's going to need to pace himself after being out the ring that long. I don't think he's going to want to empty the tank early on in the fight. So I think he's going to pace himself, and you know, I think he's going to be. It's a 12-round fight, no belt on the line, but I think he's going to need that energy late on as well to keep up with the younger, fresher Barrios. So I think he's certainly going to pace himself, and I think it goes late. I think it goes points. I think Barrios probably will struggle to hurt Thurman because, you know, Thurman has been in there with some great fighters, never really, I mean, aside from that comeback fight against Josecito Lopez, you know, hasn't really been hurt much. Obviously was down against Pacquiao in his last fight, but that's not something that happened often. He had a good chin, Thurman, you know, so I don't think that Barrios is going to get him out of there. You know, Thurman being a bigger guy, he's used to the punches of guys at 147. I don't think Thurman will be knocked out. I don't think Barrios is going to get knocked out. I think it goes points, and I think that Barrios can win the fight on points. I think I'm picking Barrios to win, but I think when pushed by myself, I think I'm going to go with a Barrios win on points. I'd like to see the odds on that. Barrios is certainly the underdog, for good reason as well, really. But Barrios is very good. Do not sleep on Barrios. Anyways, that is it for that one. And the final card to mention takes place at the Austin State University in Clarksville, Tennessee, USA. You know, whenever a guy has come on the show before, it's my duty, in my eyes, to read out to the listeners whenever the guest is having a fight. And it is time now to mention it's a 10-round fight between Tyler Tomlin, who's 12-0, very, very cool guy, in a 10-rounder here against Charlie Serrano, who's 16-6 with 2 draws. All the best there to Tyler Tomlin. But that is everything, though, for this week's show. In part 1, of course, we did the review part. Then we brought you our special guest, Mario Barrios. In part 2, we've just finalized the preview part. And before that, we did the news. There was a lot to mention. That's it, though. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 329 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our special guest, the former WBA Super-Lightweight World Champion Mario Barrios. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.